The peculiar particular aspects of your physical world are dependent upon your existence and focus within it. The physical universe does not contain physical objects of solidity, width, and depth, for example, to those whose existence is not within it. Other kinds of consciousness coexist within the same space that your world inhabits. They do not perceive your physical objects, for their reality is composed of a different camouflage structure. You do not perceive them, and generally speaking, they do not perceive you. This is a general statement, however, for various points of your realities can and do coincide, so to speak. These points are not recognized as such, but they are points of what you could call double reality containing great energy potential. Coordinate points, indeed, where realities merge. There are main coordinate points, pure mathematically, sources of fantastic energy, and subordinate coordinate points, vast in number. There are 4 absolute coordinate points that intersect all realities. These coordinate points also act as channels through which energy flows, and as warps or invisible paths from one reality to another. They also act as transformers and provide much of the generating energy that makes creation continuous in your terms. Your space is filled with these subordinate points, and as you will see later, these are important in allowing you to transform thoughts and emotions into physical matter. When a thought or emotion attains a certain intensity, it automatically attracts the power of one of these subordinate points, and is therefore highly charged and in one way magnified, though not in size. These points impinge upon what you call time as well as space. There are certain points in time and space, therefore, again in your terms, that are more conductive than others, where both ideas and matter will be more highly charged. Practically speaking, this means that buildings will last longer. In your context, that ideas ready to form will be relatively eternal. The pyramids, for example, are a case in point. These coordinate points, absolute, main, or subordinate, represent accumulations or traces of pure energy, many to an extreme if you are thinking in terms of size, smaller than any particle of which our scientists know, for example, but composed of a pure energy. And yet this energy must be activated. It is dormant until then, and it cannot be activated physically. A few clues here that might help you, or mathematicians. There is an ever-so-minute alteration of gravity forces in the neighborhood of all of these points, even of the subordinate ones, and all the so-called physical laws to some extent or another will be found to have a wavering effect in these neighborhoods. The subordinate points also serve in a way as supports, as structural intensification within the unseen fabric of energy that forms all realities and manifestations. While they are traces or accumulations of pure energy, there is a great difference between the amount of energy available in the various subordinate points and between the main and the absolute points. These are points, therefore, of concentrated energy. The subordinate points are far more common and, practically speaking, affect your daily concerns. There are better places than others to build houses or structures, points where health and vitality are strengthened, where other things being equal, plants will grow and flourish, and where all beneficial conditions seem to meet. Some people can sense such neighborhoods instinctively. They occur within certain angles made by coordinate points. The points obviously are not themselves physical, that is, they are not visible, though they may be mathematically deduced. They are felt, however, as intensified energy. In a given room, plants will grow more effectively in a particular area than in other areas, providing that both areas contain such necessary requirements as light. All of your space is permeated by these coordination points, so that certain invisible angles are formed. This is highly simplified, but some angles will be more on the outskirts than others, and will be less favorable for all conditions of growth and activity. In speaking of these angles, we will treat them as three-dimensional, though they are of course multidimensional. Since the nature of these angles is not the main topic of my book, it is not possible to explain them thoroughly here. They will seem to be stronger during certain times than other times, though these differences have nothing to do with either the nature of the coordinate points or with the nature of time. Other elements affect them, but we need not be concerned with this now. The concentrated energy points are activated by emotional intensities that are well within your normal range. Your own emotions or feelings will activate these coordinates whether you know of them or not. Greater energy will therefore be added to the original thought or feeling, and its projection into physical matter accelerated. Now this applies regardless of the nature of the feeling, only its intensity is involved here. These points are like invisible power plants, in other words, activated when any emotional feeling or thought of sufficient intensity comes into contact. The points themselves intensify whatever activates them in a quite neutral manner. This is highly simplified, but the subjective experience of any consciousness is automatically expressed as electromagnetic energy units. These exist beneath the range of physical matter. They are, if you prefer, incipient particles that have not yet emerged into matter. These units are natural emanations from all kinds of consciousness. They are the invisible formations resulting from reaction to any kind of stimuli. They very seldom exist in isolation, but unite under certain laws. They change both their form and their position. Their relative duration depends upon the original intensity behind them, that is, behind the original thought, emotion, stimuli, or reaction that brought them into being. Again, highly simplified here, under certain conditions, these coagulate into matter. Those electromagnetic units of high enough intensity automatically activate the subordinate coordinate points of which I have spoken. They are, therefore, accelerated and propelled into matter far more quickly, in your terms, than units of lesser intensity. Molecules would appear as large as planets to these units. Atoms and molecules and planets and these electromagnetic energy units are simply different manifestations of the same principles that bring the units themselves into being. It is only your relative position, your focus within an apparent space and time, that makes this seem so unlikely. Each thought or emotion therefore exists as an electromagnetic energy unit or as a combination of these under certain conditions, and often with the help of coordinate points, they emerge into the building blocks of physical matter. This emergence into matter occurs as a neutral result, regardless of the nature of any given thought or emotion. Mental images, accompanied by strong emotion, are blueprints therefore upon which a corresponding physical object or conditional event will, in your terms, appear.